Let's pull ourselves back together.
If you getting back to your question about putting some depth into it, a good way if you turn the points on. You can type in move, and then you'll see this option here is vertical. You just click on vertical, and then you can move this like up and down, and give that a little depth. So we could do the sweep 2 now. And you'll see that come up. And once you start having, once you start getting lots of pieces built together, let's move this again up vertically. Maybe you'll need to start cutting and trimming and setting. Maybe you need this to be flat at the top, so you could always do this and type in trim, and it will just trim that form. So it has a nice flat top. There's also one of the...
Trim again, just one more time for the...
Yeah. It's pretty simple. You just type in trim, and then it will tell you select cutting object, and then you hit enter, and you select the... So you have to actually click on the side of the object you want to cut. So let's say you wanted this side cut. You could click like that, or you can do that one.
So is that plane that you're using to trim, did you draw a rectangle and then turn it into a planar surface?
No, sorry. I'll show you what I did real quick. I just used this tool right here, just a rectangular planar curve, and drew it like that. And another way, and then I typed in move, and then I moved it vertically. And let's say I could move it just, however much I wanted, or I just do it manually, depending on when you're looking at it. When you get into more technical stuff, you'll want to do it actually by number. But when you're just messing around, it's always fun to just do it like that. Oh, and you can also, God, I don't know why it's looking like that, but you can also move things around just by clicking on them and dragging. But that drags them along this construction plane in the same direction. And what was I next? All right, so let's try another. There's another tool I really like. You always end up using is this one right here called rotate. And if you just click with your left button, you grab this, and kind of like in AutoCAD. You grab a reference, and then you'll do that. You can rotate it, and you can even do that in 3D as well. If you right-click here, and you'll have to choose 3 points, and then you'll be able to see where that goes. So you could rotate. It's also called rotate 3D. You can really manipulate them.
As you choose, how do they figure out not the axis of rotation, but the rotation distance? I'm not quite catching that as you rotate in 3D.
Oh, it's hard because it keeps doing this thing for some reason, which I don't understand why. But let me try closing Rhino and reopening it real quick. But anyways, actually, let me just rotate 3D real quick. Ow. So that's you'll start the axis, and then I clicked right here, and then I click right there, and I'm moving it up and down, and then I click somewhere, or you could type in 45 degrees, and move it 45 degrees, or rotate it 45 degrees in that axis.
So the first 2 points make the axis?
Yeah, that makes the axis in which it will rotate around.
Got it. And then what's the third point?
The third point is the point that you're using to pull.
Okay, it's the handle.
Yeah, it's like the handle, I guess. And so you just have to, at the end of the session, you guys can download the course outline, and I'll give you a bunch of tips on it'll just be a bunch of commands to try that are like really useful, and you'll find that you can do some pretty interesting stuff with them. Let me try. Oops. Let me just try opening Rhino again real quick. It's being a little.
Yeah, it's just a memory problem. You have to screen refresh halfway through your edits. Is that right? As soon as you close the edit, it seems to be okay.
So we're gonna do some other.
Actually, even in that first step, you choose large objects feet. Is that sort of generally a good template for people to open?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, besides, like, actually, if you want to use feet, I mean, I always used the metric system personally, like when I was working, because we never worked in America, and because it's way easier to type in like 200 or 2 as opposed to trying to do like if you want to do something like 6 inches, you have to type in 6 and then inch and then hit enter. So it's always easier that way. So I kind of prefer feet because then you can just type in like if you want it to be 6 inches, you just type 0.5. And usually, unless you're doing really detailed stuff, you don't need to go into the small scale.
Yeah, that sounds good. Just good rules of thumb for people to get started with. So large feet's a pretty good choice.
All right, so there's another one. I'm still doing it. So this we'll try this, and we're going to copy this vertically. And there's a command called loft, which I found really useful. You can use it to create simple forms or complex forms. So you pretty much are lofting between 2 curves, and it will take like a direct route between the 2 of them. So here, this would just be the same as an extrusion. But let's say you move this over here. All of a sudden, if you choose to loft between those 2. Yeah, Davey?
I created a curve, and when I press enter, it disappeared.
Are you on render mode?
Sorry?
Are you render mode?
Oh, yeah.
No worries.
So is lofting sort of like then extruding a sweep as opposed to sweep 2, which lets you sort of choose?
It's more of let's say this is just completely let's just say this is a completely different curve here.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much taking, you can kind of see it, it's taking like a direct path between the 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So like pretty much kind of splitting up the 2 curves and drawing like a straight line, like kind of as it moves along, kind of as it continues along the curve, there's like a straight line kind of as proportionally to the other line. It's hard to describe really. I guess a good way I can show it, if you guys know the Young Museum, how their tower kind of comes up and twists. You can do that really easily with a loft. So let's just draw this plain simple box, or this plain simple rectangle right here. If we copy that, actually let's rotate that, and you can just right here click copy. So then you'll be rotating, but copying. It will look better on your screen. So let's rotate that like 30 degrees. Maybe another 10 degrees. And then we're going to move that vertically. Say let's move that up 150 feet. Oh, that's too much. Just move that like this. And you could try lofting between these 2, but you'll find that you'll get something that kind of doesn't match up because all of these are like the same. They're all one closed line. So a better way to do it would be to use this command called explode. And I'll explode all these lines. And then you can loft each one individually. And you'll see that it does a kind of straight line between the 2, like these 2 points and these 2 points, and kind of creates this curve in between.
Can you go ahead and show that again in terms of what the difference was before you did that? Okay, that I see in terms of getting that kind of curvaceous surface. What happens if they're not exploded and you get?
Oh yeah.
That's like making a straight line there.
Actually, I guess maybe you could do it that way. Maybe that would work. Oh, that actually works that way. Learn something new. So it depends on, like, you have to actually look and see where all these lines and options are. So now it actually moved them along. And I recommend doing one line at a time as opposed to doing, like, going around a whole form, because sometimes it can create weird situations on these edges. But this seems to be a I don't know, pretty well worked out little twisting tower that used just a simple loft. Yeah.
Could you go over to me how you did the copy rotation?
Oh yeah. All right, so you just have this rectangle right here, and so just type in rotate or use this button over here, and right up here you'll hit copy, and so then it will have a. So then it'll create a copy and you'll rotate at the same time. So it's kind of like taking care of two commands.
I'm sorry, after I got the selection, rotate, and then copy.
Okay, go ahead and hit the rotate. Rotate throw it to you. Okay, and now hit C. And now hit return. So what that'll do is
So once again, I guess you just pull this line over here, and then it'll actually do that automatically.
we're basically trying to get the second command out of the first one.
And then you can always take a look at this, and you can try using a command called cap, and that will actually turn this into a solid, as long as these joints are all clean and this is actually flat. So you can actually tell this is a good form right now, and you could also test again by doing a command called dupe border. And if there's no borders duplicated, it means that it's a good closed surface. So that kind of looks like the Young Museum tower. And it's pretty simple way, pretty quick little method. I find using lofts is really useful. You can use it to make actual straight surfaces as well. If you just have two curves that you want to go between, just like a normal surface to loft between the two of them. Oh, and also when doing a loft, it's very important which side you touch, what you click on. So let's say you chose this line and then this line. If you chose, because it chooses to draw the lines directly from one point to the other, so it's drawing straight to this side and straight to that side. So if you want to redo that, it's always best to make sure you click on the consistent side.
Richard, can you show, it's like when you do that rotating and doing the copy, there's all these commands where it comes up and if you just hit the return, you're going to get the default option. You shift off and go off a different direction. What do you do on your keyboard to get that secondary command?
Let me see here. All right. I just typed in rotate.
And, okay, so now it says center of rotation. If you just picked right now, you get that, but you're going to go copy instead. So do you type C, or how do you get the copy?
Yeah, I type C, or you can click on copy up here.
Okay, because we were trying to type C and we weren't quite getting it, but clicking on that seems.
It also depends on, let's say you have to do it before you click.
Yeah.
Down here. So now let's say you're in the center and you want to rotate.
Okay, so you can get the command in the menu that comes up. Okay, so we'll go ahead and choose the object first, and then hit the enter to close their selection.
How do you
and now you get that C.
All right, it's the same way, same thing as copy. When you have something like that, you'll type in move, and see this option up here says vertical.
Can you type the number of feet?
Yeah, you can type the number of feet, or you can just pull up, and it'll let you it'll kind of let you show that exact way. So it's very quick. Oops.
And that thing that's coming up now is it's not the seam exactly, but somehow that's that little line, and when you pull it over the corner, you're helping it tell how to match up which corner goes to which corner. So I think you'd have to get it all the way around the other corner. There you go. That'll be a match.
Not quite.
Interesting.
does some interesting things. I don't know why this one refuses to work.
More than a 180-degree match, sort of, or something like that.
Yeah, there we go.
So when that little vector is there and you're connecting point to point, and you're really just sort of saying, this is the edges that I want to match, or the points that I want to match?
Yeah, like it will go straight from there to there and from there to there. So there we go.
Same shapes, and you can really control the curvature by which points you match. Okay, cool.
And so let's just draw a little rectangular plane that we can use to trim the top of this. But once we create the rectangular plane, you can use this command called rebuild. And you'll see currently, like the actual point count and the degree of curvature is set already right here, because this is a very flat plane. So there's 2 points in each direction to create the 4 corners. So you can add more so that there's actually more points to control. Maybe just in one direction you want. And then you can also change the degree of curvature so it can actually have some actually more extreme curvature. So we'll do that. And then you can turn the points on. You'll see it'll have that. And let's just say we want to move those vertical. Let's move. Oh yeah, and here's kind of a trick to use. If you take the mouse and you drag to the right, you'll select only things that are entirely within that box. But if you drag, it's kind of like AutoCAD. If you drag to the left, you'll select anything that actually comes within that, even if it isn't fully inside your box. Like it'll just everything that little selection box touches, it will select.
Whenever it crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same in row.
Yeah, I think it's the same way. Yeah. So, for some reason my computer's having troubles drawing these things. But yours should look a little better. Anyways, let's just try scaling this down a little bit. And we'll do it by 0.5. See here, when I just clicked on a random point, it says scale factor. So like if I clicked on another point, then it would be like they would determine the distance between those 2 points. But right now I'm just putting it in half. So then I'm dragging this in. Let's move it up vertically. And maybe we'll try doing this. We'll do a right click and do rotate 3D. We'll just choose these 2 points. You can kind of see how going up and down. And then we could use this to trim it. So you'll notice that this is a pretty unique shape up top, so you can't just use the cat command. But what you can do is you can use the split command for this thing, with this actual plane. So you can split, and you can cut with this actual piece, and you can delete this. And then, kind of what you were asking about before, a command you can use to join these planes is join. So just like you do with lines, and join them together. And if it clicks automatically, it means it becomes closed. And then you have this just kind of twisting form with a unique roof on top. Another thing, so when you start combining these things, you can also have other solids to intersect. As opposed to doing all this cutting, you can have other solids do the cutting for you. So let's just say you have a box and you want to move it down right here. And you could create one solid with both of those if you chose to use a command called the Boolean Union. And pretty much all these Boolean operations you have to use, it's kind of cutting or joining, all using solids, all these solid poly surfaces. And they all have to be closed. So a Boolean Union, so if you take a look at the ghosted view, you can see that it's all one piece now. But let's say we wanted to cut it out. So you could try doing a Boolean difference. So you actually want to select this first, and then Boolean difference. And you'll see up here it says, select the second set of things that will actually remove. So this intersection will remove. It will remove the areas that they intersect, and so you'll be selecting this box, and you can decide. Right now, it says automatically. It says it will delete it, so you can see what the result is. But sometimes you may want to keep it. But in this case, we'll just keep it deleted. So then you select the next one. And so then it's just this the void of where that box actually was. So you can use these, explore the Boolean operations some more. So there's also the difference and the split. So I don't know, there's some more to explore with that, and it kind of is a interesting way to not have to do so much cutting and trimming. And especially when we get into making 3D print models. You'll definitely want to be using that to make sure that you always have solids that are all closed up and you're cutting with all of those. So, I don't know, I guess for right now, we could just keep going through some more commands. Let me open up. If you guys would want to just download maybe this PDF real quick off the coursework, and you can kind of go through and use these commands every once in a while, and they're just useful commands, and just got a list of them. And if you type in the command help thing on the right side, you can always have a little video that will help you go through and use these. And these are always just I don't know, these are just a quick list of things to start off with. I mean, there's so many tools I could never even if I did 10 sessions with Rhino, I could never get to all of the tools they have in this program. So a good way to do it is just explore or do tutorials online as well. But I would just recommend just trying to dive in and do as much as possible and explore the program.
So how about maybe, so there's so much more you can kind of keep going. How about maybe in the last 5 minutes, let's just talk about sort of what you had in mind for them to do for, what we'd like them to practice on for next week.
So we were coming up with an assignment at some point, and we're not exactly sure what it's going to be exactly. I guess kind of wanted to gauge, see how you guys are doing with the program. But we wanted you guys to try and model an object that's familiar to you, and try and include some detail and maybe some complexity to make sure that you're using these multiple kinds of tools and different kinds of approaches, and maybe using some 2D drawing to create forms, and also using some just 3D default modeling stuff. And
some layering.
Yeah, and also make sure that you have layers, and also maybe use some saved views so that you'll be able to present it very quickly and easily, so that I can go through all the files and just look at your prepared 3D views that will be very well explaining your model, I guess.
So what would be a good example of the types of objects? How complex? Do you want tables and shares? Do you want cars? How complex?
Yeah, no cars. Yeah, I don't. I mean, if you want to do a car, go for it. But I would not recommend it. Yeah, furniture is a really good thing because usually it's pretty coplanar, and you don't have to. And it's not too much complexity. But there's always intersecting planes and everything, so you can give some thickness and just some bit of reality to it. So I would recommend furniture. I don't know, just something that challenges you, I guess, and makes you use some more tools.
How much complexity? Not one shape, but not 100 shapes. How many different forms should be involved in there?
I don't know. I guess it's kind of up to you, but I would say if you're going to do just a table, that's not. I wouldn't say that's quite enough. You're not going to get much out of it. It'd be nice if you have some object. I mean, maybe you want to do multiple pieces of furniture, so you include a piece of furniture that's more planar, and maybe one that has some curves, and it makes you do some different kind of modeling. It's not really. We haven't really said exactly what it's going to be yet, but if
it's probably say 4 or 5 different objects, just some things that are planar. Some
it could be something that's even smaller, that maybe you'd want to have a lot more a lot more detail in such a smaller thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be big, so it doesn't need to be to scale or accurate in size. It's just more about getting the actual modeling and making it look right, I guess is what I would say.
So then after we sort of get the objects, that is just sort them out into different layers that seem to make sense in terms of organizing the parts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go into more detail next week with some of this, so with some more modeling. So you can choose something that you think would be more challenging, and hopefully I'll touch on some more modeling abilities so that you'll have a better idea of how to approach it.
Okay, so how about for next week, come back with something that you've modeled that you can kind of share with us and have had the experience of sort of working with the tools and getting stuck up against the edges. That'll generate some questions for next week. Yeah, there won't be anything due to submit till like the 27th, but at least come back with something in class where you sort of exercise it and like kind of hit some of the boundaries.
Yeah, and maybe we can.
Good talking points.
Yeah, so you can also. It'll also be useful for me if you guys come up with like a list of questions or problems that you run into. If you document those at all, it would be great because I could address them pretty easily if they're all organized like that. Is there any questions? Yeah.
What are the prepared views that you said would be nice?
Yeah, I'll show you that again real quick. So say we got this great view right here. You go up into this perspective option, or the perspective tab up here.
Pull down the menu.
Pull down menu, go to named views, and you can save a new view, which is actually going to be this one right here.
Really, you're saving a named viewport, or really saving a camera position.
Yeah, just you're actually saving a viewport with a camera position. So let's say we go right here. You could set the view to, this is still perspective again. And then let's do a name view again. You could also type in named view as well. A little easier. Save second view.
So if I'm looking at a viewport, how do I switch it around back to what my previous name was?
Yeah, so let's say you're looking at this one, but you want to see the way that your first viewport looked. Jeez.
You're racing.
Yep, just go back and you go under set views. You can go back to new view, and it'll remember right there. So, I don't know, is there any other questions before I let you go?
Erica, you got something? Okay, sounds good. Great.
All right, thanks, guys. It was a little tough for my first one, but hopefully it'll get going smoother.
You're doing great. Okay, so go out and have some fun playing and come up with lots of good questions. If you really get stuck between now and then, send us an email and we'll try and get some questions answered in the week.